Hi, my name is Roland Jean Charles from PMI JCM Realty Group, where we manage properties from an asset management perspective. Today, our topic is problem with kids, unique challenges of renting to families with kids, and how to address them. So, here are a few unique challenges you can expect when renting to families with kids, along with some tips on how to address them. Now, for a multitude of reasons, you can't deny a family coming in with kids, unless it's a 55 and older community. It's restricted against the Fair Housing Act, right? So you have to allow families with children to rent a property if they are qualified and they can be approved, right? And so, as a property owner, what I want to do is I want to give you some tips that can better prepare you so that your property remains intact and they don't destroy your property, and to make sure you have a positive experience overall. So, when you think about renting properties with kids, one of the first things that you need to really think about is child protection and safety concerns. For example, over this past weekend, I was at the ESPN Wild World of Sports because um, one of my friends, her daughter, is in a cheerleading team and they compete competitively. And so she actually lives out in Vegas and she was, using Airbnb. And in that Airbnb, there was a pool. And at that pool, every time you open the door for it to go to the pool, after 7 seconds, the it would a loud beep would, go off like really, really loud so that everyone in the house knew that that door was open and that someone was going out there, right? And so I was there with my daughter, right? And she's 8, right? And she can swim technically, but um every time that door opened though, you knew that someone was going out there, right? And so those types of things are systems that you can put in place to make sure that when you're when you're renting your property to a family with kids, particularly young children, you're taking those things into account to better protect um, the families, and to protect the children, really, to make sure that you are giving them the best and safest environment. Now, it's not something that's mandatory by law for you to do, but it's just one of the things that you want to keep in mind, right? Making sure that the house is inspected and if you have a patio or deck, like everything out there is fastened properly. And, you make the house as childproof as you can. And ultimately, it's up to the parents to make sure that the home is safe for their children. But I think as the owner, putting things in place to help make that easier on the families is definitely something that you want to do, and it makes the property more marketable for you as well. So making sure that you have smoke detectors and tightly fastening railings are very important. The next point that I want to talk about, kids will be kids, right? And the fact is, kids are generally noisy, right? Whether they're an infant, crying for milk, or whether they are rambunctious um, teenagers, right? Kids tend to be noisy, and if you're renting a property in a condo or some place where you have people above or below you, that may become problematic. And so, when renting to families with young kids, you can expect a lot of activity in the home, right? So, some of the things that you probably want to do, especially if you're in a condo or a situation or a townhome where you share walls or um, you share a roof or a ceiling or what have you, you want to make sure that you put carpet in the home, because that's going to help, drown out the noise a little bit. Now, it doesn't do a lot, right? But I think any little bit helps, right? To help reduce um, the impact of how boisterous school age kids can be. And a lot of times just takes a lot of compassion and some empathy. And just talking to your neighbors sometimes can alleviate a lot of the pressure, especially when you have kids in the home that can be very noisy. But that's something that you got to make sure you keep into consideration when you're renting to families with kids, right? So making sure you use noise canceling materials where possible definitely helps make it an easier rental, right, for everyone involved. And so the next thing, the next tip I want to talk about is you need to expect wear and tear, right? Properties by themselves, without any help, will deteriorate over time, which is why the tax code allows for depreciation, right? But when you put kids in the property, it's like talking in dog years, right? So, so a 2-year house will look like it's 10 years old because, especially with young kids, I know when my kids were young, they used to write on the wall like it was a chalkboard, and I'd be looking at it heart mortified, right? Like, so kids, definitely give you your money's worth, right? Or make you spend your money's worth when it comes to homes. And those are the type of things you need to really keep in mind. And so painting the walls with paint that allows you easily clean up, right, is definitely what you want to look into. You got to make sure the property is as durable as possible, right? Because with adults, there's going to be wear and tear, but with kids, like I said, it's like counting in dog years, right? It really wears on the property. So, kids are rough on toys, they're rough on clothes, and yes, they are also rough on homes. And so you got to keep that in mind when you're renting to families, especially with young children. And so the last tip, the last point I want to talk about is you need to understand that families need more space and they grow, right? And so kids grow and as do families. And it may be some point where it may be a point where they may grow out of the property that they're currently in with you, right? And if you have other properties that you could put them into, especially if they're good tenants, you should probably consider doing that, right? So if they have a 2-bedroom and they have a couple of kids and they need to go to a 3 or 4 bedroom, if you have that available, is it worth, having them switch out to keep a good tenant? I think so, because sometimes good tenants are not always that great, that good to find. And if you that easy to find, and when you think about, families with kids, they tend to want to stay in the same area so their kids can finish school in that same area before they do any big movements or anything like that. So keep those things in mind. So the 4 tips I'm going to reiterate one more time of the talking points is, um, child protection and child safety challenges with the home, making sure that you have mechanisms to help make it easier to protect the children, particularly if you have a pool, making sure that parents are alerted when kids are walking out there so that they can protect them from drowning or other types of incidents. Understanding that kids will be kids, right? And so they'll be noisy, and so having carpet in the home or some noise canceling mechanism to help reduce the noise, particularly if there are neighbors that are close to the property or we're sharing a wall or something like that with a duplex or some other, or duplex, quadplex, or some other type of apartment. You got to expect wear and tear, right? Like I said, when kids are in a home stage age in dog years, right? And so you gotta expect that, and try to use paint that can make cleanup easy, um, and do other things to make it more efficient and make the home more durable. And understanding that families grow, right, and they may need more space. And if you have a good tenant and you can put them in a bigger property and to keep them, then that's definitely something you should think about and consider. Families are often great targets for rental property owners, but make the most of renting experience to preserve your investment. You'll need to prepare these unique challenges. If you need help diversifying your portfolio or preparing your rental property for kids, contact us. We continuously look to inform you on the latest rental property management trends in the Tampa metro area. Sign up for our free webinar where you can explore how to streamline your rental property management for maximum growth. It's an ROI focused conversation you won't want to miss. We're going to tell you how to guarantee your rent even if the tenant doesn't pay. We're going to tell you how to evict the tenant without taking the money out of your own pocket. We're going to show you different things that you can do to get tenants in your property quickly within 21 days, which is a guarantee that I have for my owners. So we're going to talk about a lot of things that are going to be very helpful to you as a property owner. So please don't miss it. You are always invited to join us on an online conversation with like-minded rental property investors with our popular Facebook group. We share ideas with other savvy property managers and engage in problem-solving conversations. Should you need more specific advice about your current growth potential in your operations, particularly if you want to talk about investment strategy. Just contact us, put a meeting on my calendar. I'm always available. You can contact me by email at rcharles@pmijcmrealty.com. You can also contact me directly by phone at 813-333-9617. And you can go to my website at pmijcmrealty.com. Thank you for your time and have a great day.